I can use attributes to identify shapes. We look at sides and angles to identify shapes. These are the main attributes we will look at. I'm going to go over some vocabulary. I'm going to talk about how we name different shapes. So let's talk about those two underlined words that we look at, sides and angles. A side is a flat edge that makes up a shape. For example, a square has 4 equal sides. An angle is the corner where two sides meet. So a square, again, has 4 right angles. Wait, what's a right angle? A right angle is an angle that is 90 degrees or a square corner. Let me start here with the square and talk about sides and angles and then go back to right angles. So here in this square, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and where each of those sides meet is an angle. Now in a square is a special example where you have what we call a right angle, or a perfect square corner, sometimes they're called. It measures 90 degrees, and they're indicated with a little box like this. But if it looks like a square, it's safe to just assume at this point that it's a right angle. These here are right angles in the square and in the rectangle. But it's not just in squares and rectangles that you might see a right angle. You could see one in a triangle. This triangle has a right angle in the corner, but note that the other two angles aren't perfect squares, so they're not right. But here's a triangle with no right angles. None of those angles are right. And here's a four-sided figure that looks kind of like a rectangle, but it isn't. It's called a parallelogram, and it has no right angles. None of the angles are perfect square corners, so it's not quite the same, but it does have the 4 sides. So a triangle has 3 sides and 3 angles. Only one of them would ever be a right angle, but just know the triangle is 3 sides, 3 angles. Here are some different examples. A quadrilateral is the most important shape or polygon we're going to talk about in 3rd grade. It has 4 sides and 4 angles. Here you have a square with 4 equal sides and then 4 right angles. Here you have what is supposed to be a parallelogram with just opposite equal sides that also run parallel. I'll talk about parallel in a minute. And down here you have a trapezoid where you just have the one set of parallel sides and then the other 2 aren't. And this is just a quadrilateral, kind of like a kite, but I didn't draw it just like a kite. It's still not quite equal. Basically, it just has 4 sides, 4 angles, quadrilateral. Let's look at some others first. Pentagon is 5 sides and angles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hexagon, 6 sides and angles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Octagon is one of the easier ones to remember. It has 8 sides and angles. You might think of an octopus with oct is 8. And then over here it's a stop sign. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you see a stop sign out at the end of a street, that has 8 sides. It's an octagon. I mentioned before parallel sides in quadrilaterals. What are they? Well, they're 2 sides that don't cross, even if you extended them forever. So here's a trapezoid, which is a great example to define parallel lines because the top side is parallel to the bottom side. They would never cross if you extended them. But the 2 other sides, if you extended them, would eventually cross up here. So you only have 1 set of parallel lines, and this type of quadrilateral is called a trapezoid. I can use attributes to identify shapes. So I want you to do 2 things. 1, draw a pentagon. That's 5 sides, 5 angles. And name this shape that I drew here.